This is the, excuse me, this is the Board of Education of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, and we're now reconvening to open session. And so if you would join us in the flag salute, and I think we have two really able helpers for the flag salute today, so please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You need to come meet us. Go ahead. It's a tradition. We're not going to leave you on the path. You didn't get to do that when you're in elementary school, so this was to make up for it, right? Thank you. We had a very positive closed session with no actions. And so with that, I will tell you the meeting procedures. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Education for the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, and our primary focus is the education of students in the school district. During this meeting, members of the public will have the opportunity to share information and voice their ideas and concerns regarding matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During the board's discussion of each agenda item, there will be time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If the topic you want to address is not on the agenda, although this is not mandatory, we would encourage you to please fill out and turn in a tan speaker card, like this one, and you will then be called to speak on that topic during communications from the public. If you wish to address an item that is a topic which is on the agenda, we encourage you to fill out and turn in a blue speaker card. Again, that's not mandatory to do so. I will then call your names in no particular order to speak to the board for no more than 3 minutes unless otherwise noted. And our meetings are televised on cable channel 28 on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 9 a.m. So if you have nothing better to do in the morning on Saturday, you should really take advantage of that. And with that, do we have any changes to the agenda tonight?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no changes this evening.
Okay, and so then we will move on to recognitions.
Certainly. Tonight is a very special recognition. We are going to be formally acknowledging probably the department that is the nearest and dearest to many of our hearts, mine included. This is a department that I don't think they even probably go home and come back for an evening meeting. I think they probably just work right through. Whenever we leave late at night, their cars are here. And so this is our curriculum department. And I'd like to ask Mrs. Amy Robbins to come up and do the formal honors of recognizing this hardworking department.
Good evening, Board President Dunlop, Superintendent Bowers, members of the board. As our superintendent mentioned, this department is definitely one that goes above and beyond and, of course, is very near and dear to my heart. So tonight it's with great pleasure that I introduce and honor the employees from our Curriculum and Special Projects Department. And I would like to ask them to please come forward. As you probably can tell, they're a humble group of employees who are not used to being front and center. We are so very fortunate to have each and every one of these employees working collaboratively to meet the needs of our students and the staff here within the district. Each and every one of them go above and beyond to initiate programs, provide support to sites and staff, connect and inform our parents, network within our community, and provide professional development across the district, and much, much more. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to you each member of the Curriculum and Special Projects Department. and we did not rehearse, so there are no special order, so they'll have to raise their hands. First, we have Jean Petrilli. She's a categorical program assistant, and she works with our categorical programs to maintain budgets, ensure compliance, and another part of her assignment is coordinating our CELT testing for our English learners. And these are only a small list of each one of their responsibilities. Next, we have Heidi Novell, who is our assessment technician. She coordinates and oversees the various assessments across our district and supports our sites with the analysis of student data, with new courses, and much more. Next, we have Kieran Galeria. And Kieran is our categorical program assistant who supports our sites with the ordering of textbooks and instructional materials, supports throughout summer school, and with supplemental education services, and to provide support for our program improvement schools. Lori Rice is my executive secretary, who's always got my back as she's standing right behind me. She maintains budgets and supports the sites and me with any and all of our needs. She also completes grants and reports to ensure receipt of funding for our various programs. Next, we have Veronica Ferreira Maya. She is our parent and community liaison who networks with families and the sites to support the needs of our English learners and migrant students across our district. Next, we have Marta Yuritia, who is our migrant recruiter who recruits and supports our migrant students and is an integral component of our migrant program. And we have Mary Putoff, who is our Title VII program specialist who runs our Native American Indian Center, which is a partnership that we have with other districts in the region, and they provide extended learning opportunities for our students of American Indian heritage. And we're not, but halfway finished. Next, we have Robin Slichter. She is our teacher on special assignment that serves in a role of our mathematics coach. She is currently coaching grade 2nd and grade 3rd math teachers. She also offers professional development for teachers across the grade levels in the area of math and supports with our math needs across the district. Next, we have Pauline Hubin, who is a teacher on special assignment who works to coordinate our migrant education program. She oversees our English learner program, she coordinates the Science Odyssey, and she oversees the gifted and talented education program. One of our new members this year is Carla Hansen. She's a teacher on special assignment, and she comes to us with a writing background, so therefore Carla oversees our Title I programs, uses her writing coach background to review and align our writing benchmarks to the Common Core state standards, and she's providing professional development across the district in the area of writing. We also have Dania Segress, who is a teacher on special assignment who serves in a coaching role specifically for Junction K-8, and she is we share her with Junction. So she is also highly involved as a when we work together as a district to provide Common Core professional development. Next, we have our TV tip coaches. We have Debbie Burkle, who is a teacher on special assignment that serves in the role as a coach for the Tri-Valley Induction Program. She is our TV tip coordinator for Livermore, and she provides support across the Tri-Valley to beginning teachers as well as to new coaches. This year, Debbie is also working with the teachers on special assignment to create and implement the Common Core State Standards Professional Development Plan to our sites and leadership teams across the district. And we have Peggy Berger, who is a teacher on special assignment who also is a coach in the induction program. I can only imagine what she just did. Peggy also supports the sites with professional development, specifically in the areas of project-based learning and career technical education. Another member to our department that's new this year is Heather Bateson. And she was unable to attend this evening. She is a coach for the Tri-Valley Induction Program. She is new to our department, and she brings a strong math background, which she is using to support our new teachers and to provide support in the areas of math professional development. And last but not least, we have another teacher who was unable to attend tonight, Mary Grace, who is new to our department. She is our induction coach for the induction program, and Mary comes to our department with a background in special education. Therefore, she's providing support to our new teachers and will be supporting teachers with special education needs. As you know, the charge of the curriculum department this year is to support sites in the transition to the Common Core state standards. On top of their daily roles, everyone within this department is committed to their own continued professional growth, and also in providing professional development and support to all of our sites. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to recognize these employees, and I would also like to take the time to thank them for going above and beyond to meet the needs of our students.
What was? We'll wait for a minute, and then we'll go ahead with the student reports, and we'll make them give it to you separately.
Okay.
We wouldn't do that to you, honest, but that'll make them feel better while they're out getting their picture taken. And since we have both the principals here checking up on you tonight, do we want to draw straws on who goes first, or? Okay, Ms. Dreyer, would you please go first? And since you I thought you pointed at yourself, but and so we'll have you report, and then we'll move on to Ms. Schultz.
So at Livermore High School, the spirit that's going around is really vamped up. We have continued to stay really spirited for all of our games that are going on. All of our students are really busy with all of their extracurricular and schoolwork. Seniors are working on applying to college. Juniors are getting ready for, making sure they're ready for next year for college. And freshmen and sophomores are just doing their thing, but it's still really busy. So for sports, they have hit the ground running, and there's a lot going on. But some of our coaches for this year, for girls tennis, we have Veronica Kirkpatrick. For girls volleyball, we have Stephanie Angel. For wrestling, we have Herb Goodry. For boys soccer, we have Keith Schweitzer. And for girls soccer, we have Bob Mentano. And for baseball, we have Dave Perotti. And cheerleading, we have Tracy Dreher. So for actual sporting events that have happened, last week, girls golf played Amador Valley and Monte Vista. Girls volleyball played Carondelet and Amador Valley. Girls water polo played Monte Vista. And football played Foothill. So for this week, we have also a lot going on. So girls golf is playing Cal High and Foothill. Girls tennis is also playing Cal High and Foothill. girls volleyball is playing Monte Vista and Cal High. Freshman football on Thursday will play against San Ramon, and Friday they will have JV and varsity also play San Ramon. And about 2 weeks ago, it was really nice to see, but we had the LJFL League come to one of our games. They were allowed to come in for free, and the football players got to play 2 scrimmages at the halftime, and the cheerleaders got to perform with the high school cheerleaders. So I think it was really inspiring for them to continue what they're doing, and they continue it through high school. And I think it was a lot of fun to encourage them to keep doing what they're doing. For some school news, we've started a new Spirit Day for every single Wednesday in October. Since it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we've started Wednesday We Wear Pink, which is a play off of a movie called Mean Girls. And they have a saying that's Friday or Wednesday We Wear Pink. So it's encouraging students to wear pink for breast cancer awareness, not necessarily raising any money, but just, again, creating awareness. Today was very exciting. In our second period, we got to vote for Homecoming Royalty, the nominees. So it's just the first round of everything. Tomorrow, we will be doing our FIT presentations about homecoming. So that's where our leadership class goes into all the FIT classes, talks to them about how to go to homecoming, because a lot of them, this is the first child going into high school. They don't know how to dress. Getting in a group, so you have a lot of friends to go with, getting a corsage and a garter, and also to dress up for those spirit weeks, because we like to tell them that you're going to look like the sore thumb if you're not dressed up. So last weekend, we had a really large turnout for the LVEF Walk for Education, which is really exciting because we're hoping to claim that title once again. On October 11th, we'll be having our freshman Halloween carnival that is put on by our Link crew. On October 15th, there will be a Tri-Valley College Fair at Amador Valley that a lot of our seniors will be attending to make sure they get all the information, the deadlines, scholarship opportunities. And last week, we had a SAT boot camp that was put on by our PTSA. It was really successful, and it's a really good course for students who are juniors or sophomores planning to take the SAT and really perfect those scores. I had previously talked about our class shirt sales, and they were so successful that we're doing pre-orders for the next batch because a lot of people are upset that they didn't get a t-shirt. Some upcoming fundraisers that we have are for Grad Night, which is the committee that raises money for our Grad Night for the class of 2014 after we graduate. That's the night for seniors, and it'll be on October 12th at the LHS student parking lot. You can donate your e-waste, or there'll be a plant sale. There'll also be a USDA meat sale on the 12th and 13th. They do need volunteers to work this event, so if you're interested, please come see me for details. LHS alumni will be having a wine event at Eagle Ridge Vineyard, and this will raise money for a lot of the activities and groups that they help fund. So for now, that is all that's going on at Livermore High School. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Ms. Schultz?
Good evening, President Dunlap, Superintendent Bowers, and fellow board members. So we're a little over halfway through our first trimester at Granada, and so far it's been a really great start to our school year. In the world of sports, girls water polo won the James Logan Water Polo Tournament, and they just defeated Foothill and are having a really fantastic season. They're off to an amazing start. In football, Casey Soltis was awarded Football Player of the Week from TV Channel 30, and football had a really great game last Friday against Cal, and it was a really, really close loss, 16-14. We were proud of their performance. Our girls golf team just beat Livermore and San Ramon in their last matches, so they're off to a good start as well. Dance team will be hosting a clinic on October 26th with Granada, and a lot of kids from around the district attend every year, and it's a great opportunity for little kids to learn some new dance routines and get some great skills from girls they might admire who they danced with at their studios and who they hope to be somewhat like when they try out for Granada's dance team in the future. So we're looking forward to that. In academics, we have a short week because of Professional Development Day Thursday and just a day off on Friday. We'd like to think it's to help us prepare for our skits, but It's actually because there's going to be our third annual mini conference for Granada teachers on Thursday, where they're going to share their expertise and are presenting workshops on the Common Core, co-teaching, technology and learning, and strategies for teaching English learners. So we're excited about that. Our ACE program is also going well, and we're looking forward to seeing the continued progress in students. For school-wide activities, our senior panoramic picture was held last Wednesday, so it's a little bit unnerving to think that we're actually seniors and next year we won't be in high school anymore. But it's also really exciting as it kicks off the beginning of our activities as seniors this year. So we're excited about that, and we're looking forward to getting those panoramic pictures in. A club rush was held during lunch 2 weeks ago and on a Friday, and it gave everyone an opportunity to experience what the different clubs around campus have to offer and also to see if any appealed to them. And if they didn't, they're welcome to submit a charter to try to start their own club. So it's a really great way for people to understand what's going on at campus in the world of clubs. We're really excited to kick off homecoming week with our staff skit tomorrow. So they'll be performing their take on Scrabble. And so we're excited to see how that goes. As we all know, staff skits usually don't have the most preparation, but they turn out quite charming anyways. So all of the classes are working really hard to perfect their skits before homecoming week, including cleaning up dances, perfecting our scripts, and finishing up the props in the wall. So we're really excited to see how those go. Homecoming week is always such a great event at Granada, so it's fun to see all the collaborative efforts of all of the classes. Friday will be our homecoming, or Friday the 12th, or 11th, I'm sorry, will be our homecoming game against Monte Vista. So there will be plenty of surprises in store at this game as we are celebrating our 50th homecoming and the dedication of our field. So we hope that you can all join us in our celebration of homecoming, and everyone is welcome to attend the alumni barbecue on that Friday, October 11th at 5 p.m. Tonight is our senior parent night for parents to get a little bit of an idea of the senior activities going on this year, as well as to provide them preparation for college applications, which some people have started and some are just starting, as most of the applications will actually open today. So to give them an idea of the different routes they can take following college and how that they are following high school and how they can apply their high school skills to various career paths. So our vice principals and our counselors will be there to give advice on college applications as well as financial aid. In leadership, we have chosen to fund the building of a water well through the Free the Children program, and we're going to be building a water well in a third world country to help start one of the main pillars that can provide sustainability for the village or community that we're helping as a whole. So this is our international community outreach project, and we're really excited. We just held a car wash this Sunday, and we raised over $750 for the project. So we're really excited. That's a great start to getting on our way to our goal to raise enough money to build the well. So we're hoping that we'll be able to do that before this year is over. And also, as part of our campaign for Free the Children, we'll be collecting cans for hunger around Halloween through the program called We Scare Hunger, which is also aligned with the Free the Children program. And we learned about it when a woman named Hallie Pond came into our classroom and taught us about the Free the Children program and how we as leadership students can get kids in all areas of our school involved in helping fight poverty around the world and helping to allow children, same age as us, some younger, to find education and resources to make them like a brighter future for themselves. So we're really excited about that. We would also like to encourage students and adults to get involved in this Team KC Swimathon, which raises money for families who have children battling cancer. It will be held October 6th at the Robert Livermore Community Center, and you can get involved by actually swimming laps or going to the barbecue, and there will be a silent auction and plenty of other opportunities for parents, students alike to get involved and donate. And you can also sponsor people. So if anyone comes up to you talking about a swim-a-thon, that's what they're talking about, and hopefully you can sponsor them as they swim laps to help battle childhood cancer. Last but not least, last week we lost not only a former Matador, but also a member of the Livermore community in a tragic accident resulting from the careless choices of a drunk driver. Christina Chesterman was not only a beloved daughter, sister, and a friend, but she's going to be missed dearly because she really was a great part of the Granada community. She was a cheer coach, and all of those cheerleaders who cheered our school were heartbroken to see the loss of a former coach, someone who cared about them and was beyond kind to them. So please keep her family and her friends in your thoughts as they go through this difficult time, but we know that her kindness and her caring nature will will be kept alive through her legacy. And that's all.
Good, thank you. We now have time for the associations, and so LEA, if you'd like to come up, please.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Bowers. My name is Jenny Unger. I am the Vice President of the Livermore Education Association and a first grade teacher. Last week, I was able to participate as part of one of the site cohort groups for Common Core, and we had 2 hours of great professional development. And in doing so and in looking at what some of the other sites were working on, everybody's right at that precipice and ready to jump in and start teaching to the standards, and are really looking forward to getting some really hands-on instructional guide to what they can do now, because they're ready to do it. They're very excited about it. Starting on Monday and going through the 16th, our elementary teachers and K-8s will be doing some goal-setting conferences. This is different than we've done in the past. Last year was the first time we did it. Normally, we would have a conference with parents at the end of the trimester to let them know how their students did through the trimester. Our focus now is looking at where kids are closer to the beginning of the year, so we can develop some goals in collaboration with parents and see the direction that we'd like to go for each student. And then further into the year, we can see if any of those goals have been met or exceeded. The other thing I'd like to talk about is LEA's participation at the end of this month in the Downtown Livermore Halloween Carnival. We will have a booth set up where we will have a little game for kids with little handout prizes, but we will also be giving books away to children, toddlers up through grade 3. So this is a really good community outreach project we've been trying to do for the last 2 years. This will be our 3rd year, and we're looking forward to it. We have teachers volunteer to work the booth all day and help set up and tear down. It's a great experience, and we'll be dressed like pirates and arg.
Good evening. I'm Shelley Fields. I'm the president of Livermore Education Association and a high school teacher. And I will be missing the Pirate Day because I will be representing our local multiple associations down at State Council. So hopefully I will come back with clear direction on state testing and legislation that's coming down the pipeline, and I'll be able to update you guys on that. There were some very exciting things that happened this weekend. I'm wearing the shirt that I borrowed from one of our fellow walkers because they ran out before I could get my shirt. So that's a really good sign. The American Swim Academy has done this wonderful event, Walk for Education, and it was well attended. I'd love to see it attended even better next year. We had so many people from the community, parents, teachers, staff members. I saw almost the entire district office down there, and people had their dogs, their babies. It was very exciting, and it was fun. I was a little disappointed that my number of laps was bested by a parent from Jackson, but I will take him on next year. So that was really cool. 2 of our administrators stayed until the final end of the closing ceremony, and that would be Denise Nathanson and Sherry Johnston. They stayed as long as I did. So I thought that was awesome considering how much work everyone has on their plate. Tomorrow is our kickoff. This is our 3rd annual kickoff. Fourth. It's our 4th. It just, time flies. And one of our transition classes at Granada High will be doing the balloon decorations for us. It's kind of an accompaniment to their balloon store that they have on campus. And so this is their big first large contracted job. And so Mr. Nagel will be picking up those balloons and taking them over for our kickoff celebration. And I'd like to encourage all of our staff members who are watching to make sure they get over there early, find a good seat, because you never know how the prizes are going to be given out, and we are approaching $10,400. Right now it's $350, but it could go up a little bit higher. We still have a few more hours, but we have gifts and prizes, and and they are very exciting. I know in the kickoff meeting, people were vying for some of the donations. Our Professional Development Day on Thursday is going to continue the work on the Common Core that we've been continuing, that we've been working on every Wednesday during collaboration time, and was begun by staff members in August. And so, although it is a non-student day, our staff will be working hard, and I would like to encourage families to maintain strong attendance, even if it is a slightly shorter week, because every minute in the classroom counts, and we really want to make sure that all of our kids progress as well as they can, and the only way they can do that is actually having seat time. And last but not least, the trimester committee is reconvening, and our first meeting is October 16th, and we have a lot of eager people anxious to get going on the work that was begun before. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. This is the time, let's see, I think that's right. It is, yes. That was the time for communications from the public. And you can either provide your comments either written or verbally on any item that is not on the agenda. The board may listen to the comment and ask clarifying questions of staff, but they will neither discuss nor take action at this meeting on topics that are not on the agenda in accordance with the Brown Act. If you would like to address a topic that is not on the agenda in this evening's agenda, now's the time to do so, and we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes so each speaker can have time to speak once. And we have one person who has asked for time, and we're pleased to have the president of the Pleasanton School Board with us. And if you would please come up, Mr. Bowser, and we'll be pleased to hear from you.
Good evening, President Dunlap, Superintendent Bowers, and Board of Trustees. I'm visiting as many school districts as I can. It's interesting to see how everybody operates a little bit differently. I'm also here to talk a little bit about the County Office of Education, and I'm considering a run for County Superintendent, and I really greatly appreciate your feedback on how the county office can improve in servicing the districts throughout the county. I think it's important that the county continues as a service agency, and very important as we look forward to the LCAP and especially continuing with their AB 1200 duties. And I also wanted to invite you, I don't know if you're attending CSBA, but I'll be hosting a hospitality event, and I'll be giving some information a little bit later. But I'm very honored to be here, and I wish you a wonderful meeting. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Mrs. White, do we have any correspondence?
There's no written correspondence this evening.
So let's move on then to our information discussion items. And if you would introduce that, Mrs. Bowers, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll ask Mrs. Amy Robbins to come up once again to the podium. She will briefly introduce the instructional material realignment program before we ask you to open our public hearing.
Good evening again, Board President Dr. Dunlop, Superintendent Bowers, and members of the board. Tonight I present you with information regarding the State Instructional Materials Funding Realignment Program, K-12, for this school year. Each year, Ed Code Section 60119 requires that a local governing board holds an annual public hearing to adopt a resolution stating whether each pupil in the district has sufficient textbooks or instructional materials in the areas of reading, language arts, math, science, and history social science, which are aligned with our content standards and consist of the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the state. Per the guidelines and requirement, the notice of tonight's public hearing was posted at least 10 days prior to this meeting and has been posted in 3 locations. In compliance with the funds, which are in flexibility, and the Williams settlement, we are required to provide every student with a Standards Alliance textbook, as I mentioned, in the areas of English language arts, math, history, social science, and science. The certification also expands to include health and foreign language and the availability of high school laboratory equipment where applicable. The state 24-month adoption cycle has been suspended due to the fiscal cycle, and the allotted funds have gone into Tier 3 flexibility. We continue to follow all guidelines and timelines from the state, and our next frameworks with the Common Core state standards will guide us in our future adoptions. And with that, Dr. Dunlop, I turn it back to you to open a public hearing.
Okay, so we'll now like to open the public hearing on this issue. So any members of the public are welcome to come and address us on this issue. And if there are none, then we will close the public hearing. Any board members like to comment on this issue? Okay, with that, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we'll move on to the next agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll ask Mrs. Cindy Alba, our Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services, to introduce our presenters. Our high school principals are here, and I see actually one of our high school vice principals as well, for a presentation of Part 2 of the district's high school report.
Good evening, President Dunlop, trustees, Superintendent Bowers. As Superintendent Bowers stated, this is Part 2 of the Comprehensive High School Report. In the spring, we had Part 1 of the report. The intent of this item this evening is to share with you some information about the high schools, about our comprehensive high schools, and about that continual improvement process that they go through, and highlighting programs, achievements, and areas for next steps. The written report is quite comprehensive, includes quite a bit of data and information. And tonight we have both of our comprehensive high school principals here, Philomena Rambo and Alberto Solorzano, who will be sharing some of the information that's in the report, but some additional highlights about their programs at their schools and about our district as a whole and the outstanding programs that we offer at our comprehensive high school.
Thank you. We're both not working. Back. Okay. Okay, we are both delighted to be here. We are going to be sharing some information with all of you about the high schools, and we have discovered, not to our surprise, of course, that we have lots in common. So much of what you hear is going to be true for both schools, and if there are some individualities that we want to highlight, we will note that during the course of our conversation with you. And we'll give you time at the end, of course, to ask questions, if it's not midnight yet. Okay, so we start every school year with the end in mind. When the streamers go into the air at Livermore High School and Granada High School in the middle of June, we are celebrating the end of approximately 13 years of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District work for all of our students. It's a very exciting time, and it's a time that is very critical for these students because they are now marching off into the future. With that in mind, the high schools embrace the district mission to create students who are going to be able to contribute and thrive in our changing economy. And that's no small task in light of the fact that realistically most of the students we have in high school today will be working in jobs that have not yet been invented or created. So how do we prepare these students to be successful for that? With that in mind, we continually look at the work that we're doing. We are forced to do this, if you will, by WASC, the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, which is the accrediting agency for high schools throughout the country. Every 6 years, WASC comes to visit, basically a team of our peers, and they look at what we've done over the last 6 years, and they request that in preparation for the visit that we embark upon this cycle of inquiry. Granada was visited in the fall of 2012 and has earned the full 6-year accreditation, and Livermore High School will be visited next fall. So we look at this at this cycle, and we set goals, we plan, we implement, we assess, we review, modify, and then we set new goals. And this is something that happens on the school level, within department teams, and in each individual classroom as we're working to continually improve student achievement. So what's going to follow in the next couple of slides is some discussion specifically about how we do that within our departments. But first, an overview of our scores.
So if you take a look at these two graphs here, they represent both Livermore and Granada high schools. And so we are measured by the state and really by all of our communities that surround us. And and this is how we perform on our state tests. The Academic Performance Index combines scores from the CSTs, CASE to create a score that indicates overall performance. And the state's target goal is 800. Now, if you could look at the graph, it's very apparent that both high schools have met or exceeded the state's requirement of 800. We are outperforming Alameda County as well as state averages. In our next slide, you can see that the federal government also has measures for student achievement. This report here really relies on 10th grade scores, exit exams, in the subject matter of English language arts, and our graduation rates. So if you can look at our AYPs, you can see that both Livermore and Granada are exceeding county and state averages.
That being said, we still recognize that there's room for growth, and I know that your written report details this in more specifics, but we have honed in on 3 critical areas of growth. One is to improve student achievement for all students, and specifically what that means is the term that we've used for years is to close the achievement gap. And if you look at the specific changes in student achievement throughout the last number of years, you'll recognize that we have in fact made great gains in those areas. But we're not there yet, and so our focus continues to be to improve student achievement for all. And some of the newer things that are in place at Granada High School, for example, are we have an intervention program this year. Haley's talked about ACE, Academic Support and Enrichment. It is a specific Common Core or state content-based intervention designed to immediately impact needs of students so that they can have help when they need it in a timely manner so that they are successful in the rest of their courses. We both have English learner instruction at our schools. Granada also has the co-teaching in math, English, and this year is expanding into social science, which works with students with IEPs, but also provides response to intervention. You've heard of RTI for other students. Both of our schools, our entire district, as a matter of fact, is benefiting from a partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools. The EOS grant is allowing us to spend some time working with our staff and our student population to encourage students to participate in advanced placement programs, to challenge themselves with more rigorous courses. So this is specifically designed at bringing into those programs students which historically have maybe not been invited in or felt comfortable being part of those classes, but additionally the result will be that we should have more students involved in those programs as well. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, in terms of looking at systems for equity, both high schools have concentrated efforts in meeting the needs for our English learners, African American students, students of low socioeconomic, as well as our students with disabilities. Specifically, last year, Livermore High School was pioneering kind of a new institute for parents, or padres, or Instituto de Padres, which is an institute for Spanish-speaking families, which empowers them to access support services and resources so that their kids can fulfill their dreams in going on to colleges and into a career.
Okay. So I talked a little bit about some of the intervention that we provide. It's based on formative assessments. At both schools, we recognize the importance and the value of timely assessments, lots of checking for understanding. You'll see in some of the slides in a few minutes how teachers are doing that on a continual basis. And so we're focusing not just on the benchmark tests that you saw emphasized in the charts, but on ones that really make a difference in student achievement. And then finally, increased professional collaboration. We've had the Wednesdays as part of our calendars for quite some time, and we wish we had many more Wednesdays in the week. Everybody takes advantage of those and really enjoys the opportunity to work together, and it's very valuable this year in particular. We're taking advantage of the fourth Wednesdays working together on a high school team, as are other schools throughout the district, to implement Common Core standards, and we continue to use that time again and keep it sacred pretty much. So, except for the kickoff, because that's a collaboration of its own sort, to build our network as professionals. And this, of course, is what we keep in mind. 21st century, I know we're like 13 years into it, but honestly, it's still impacting the way we teach, the way we think about education. And I think even more so the way that the parents of our students think about education, because we are very much in a different era from what they were in when they were in high school, and it takes a little bit of convincing, which isn't one of the C's, but it should be, to make things happen. So we do have the 3 R's. We have the core subjects at work, but we really have critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and a few others, including character development, that are critical as we teach our students, again, to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, analysts, people who can face something that is unknown to them and be innovative in their response. We have, Granada has revamped their ESLers to create thinking standards, which come right out of the Common Core College and Career Readiness Standards.
And Livermore High School is still continuing with their ESLers around the PACT, which is personal development, academics, communication, and technology.
And now for the fun stuff.
Okay, this is the part where you're probably going to say, slow down because you're talking way too much, because we're going to get really excited about the things that are happening inside our classrooms. So, beginning with mathematics. So in mathematics, you're going to find that there's a lot of overlap between both sides. And so at Livermore High School, you can see that there are multiple methods of checking for understanding, the use of whiteboards, laptop use, kind of the cell phone clickers for checking for understanding. We are trying to increase students' communication as part of our focus for the year. And so we're really looking at best practices that allow students to turn and talk with partners, to really look at cooperative learning opportunities, to gain deeper knowledge around the content area. We're looking at standards-based grading inside our mathematics classrooms, flipped classroom learning, and
we have math office hours by our math department to provide, again, more intervention. The co-teaching in the math department has really taken off and is becoming very effective for lots of students. In the English department, we are also having co-teaching at work, and we are focusing specifically in this department as kind of the lead of the school on evidence-based writing, evidence-based conversations, and of course academic vocabulary. That is our district focus for Common Core. The English department is kind of taking the lead on that because of the literacy component. Those teachers bring to the table their expertise and experience, but again, they are the leaders, but they're not the only ones to do it. It's really recognized as being viable across the curriculum. Our district participates in the EAP program, which is the early assessment program put on by Cal State, and that is part of their CST test in the springtime. One of our district writing goals is to have proficiency by all 11th graders on that test, and so in preparation for that goal, we have students in 9th, 10th, and 11th grades take a district write twice a year. So that's actually in progress in the next couple of weeks, and that is scored holistically by both English and science teachers this year at Granada. We also offer, by the way, AP English language courses, AP English literature courses. We neglected to mention AP Calculus as well in the math department. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, and then also in terms of increasing the amount of literacy that happens across the content areas, Livermore High School really is embracing kind of the LHS reads. Last year, you may remember that we had launched kind of a book that everybody read, from clerical to custodial to teachers to coaches, and every student participating in this event. We're launching a new novel this year. We're also looking at school-wide instructional strategies that can be used not only in English language arts, but across the content areas. And we're talking about increased reading and comprehending complex text. We have teachers that are trained in Reader's Apprenticeship. We have our new senior level courses where teachers are teaching the expository reading and writing and other research-based practices.
The Social Studies Department continues to be the department that really has led the school in the evidence-based writing. The AP courses of European History, World History at Livermore High School, AP US History, AP Government, these have kind of set the mark for that, but it's invaluable in all courses as well. This year, our co-teaching program is entering the Social Science Department in the classes of Civics and Economics.
And in terms of what we're trying to also have our history courses do is actually involve our students to do more deeper level type research projects. And so when we talk about depth of knowledge, these particular courses will allow students to go through kind of that DOK level 4 type activities. Again, they are also supporting kind of the evidence-based conversations, the writing, and the development of academic vocabulary. And then I guess new courses to highlight is ethnic studies, sports and society, Korea and the Vietnam Wars.
Okay, and then of course physical education. These are kids from Granada who just love to run. But they love to run at both schools. The fitness gram results are well above the county average. If you take our two high schools and treat them as one student body, 73% of freshmen pass 5 out of 6 fitness gram first time around, which is terrific. Livermore High has had a course called Human Performance, for which they've encouraged their athletes to take. And Granada has copied that, and we've started it this year, and we have about 7 or 8 sections of that class. The PE teachers are continuing to look for elective options to encourage students to stay healthy throughout their high school years and beyond. Keep going? Yep. So career and technical education, this is, to have one slide for this is hardly fair because this is a huge department. It includes, culinary, it includes the computer-assisted design that you're seeing here, both in architecture and drafting, metals, auto, and it also includes all of our Project Lead the Way classes. So we have many of those at Livermore High School. We have a national pilot taking place at Granada High School. Carol Kennard is teaching computer science and software engineering. Do you want to talk about some of your programs?
Yeah, and then we do see an increase in ag enrollment. So our agricultural classes are starting to grow in numbers. We were able to reintroduce a new course, Ag Construction Technology. Ag Science has been approved by the College Board. Our robotics course is back online, computer sciences and programming. We also have, as part of our Project Lead the Way, but our Green Engineering Academy, engineering physics, and our new course for seniors taking projects into a deeper level, into more of a grander scale type approach, and that's our engineering research and design course for senior level students. And then because of the increase in ag enrollment, we are now positioned to have an aggressive recruitment for the growing California Green Academy.
And I should also mention that our CTE teachers have been very active and continue to be so in the tech committee, which is district-wide and actually area-wide. Video production and studio broadcast, these programs are at both schools. The studio broadcast class at Granada High School puts on the weekly LVJUSD, which is broadcast a video, as well as the daily announcements that are audio.
When you think about video productions, this is where the creativity, development of written and oral communication skills really comes alive, and it's visually seen weekly on our weekly news broadcast, weekly Cowboy Alley News, but more so even some of the behind-the-scenes work that these students are developing their skills, and that's movie making, sound mixing, and green room technology. Performing arts. This is, again, I believe, one of the things that the district is really proud of, that is continuing to keep as part of one of those foundational courses that students should be part of beginning from elementary, middle, and high school, that we still have really successful orchestras and jazz bands, marching bands. We have a drama that puts on 3 productions a year. We have a choral that puts on many performances throughout the year, also comes in here and entertains members of the district office, but then also allows different types of students with different needs and different skill sets be part of these programs, and which is again, allows for many kids to be part of it. It's not just a small population. All kids are able to perform in any one of these programs.
And they're also programs that really attract support from the students themselves. We don't have a choir at Granada, but we certainly have our Broadway cast in operation. You'll see next week if you come over to watch the skits. There's tremendous choreography and singing going on. We have Granada Idol in the spring. Again, not part of the curriculum, but part of the extended curriculum. The visual arts program is also part of the visual performing arts department. We have ceramics classes, drawing, digital photography.
Regular photo.
Right. Yep. Okay. And we have AP Studio Art in that department as well. The original occupation program is strong at both schools. We have pretty much the same classes with the exception that Livermore also has auto. ROP, this is an example of ROP sports medicine. We have ROP medical occupations. We have marketing, economics of business ownership, and developmental psychology of children, right? And this also is a partnership, again, with the Tri-Valley ROP, and they are also part of the tech program, tech committee. We have Spanish, French, American Sign Language. We go up to the AP level in both Spanish and French in ASL 1, 2, and 3. Some of the things that you're seeing, some of the whiteboards indicated here in this slide, you also saw in the math. That's an example of just a quick, inexpensive way to check for understanding to see whether all kids get it. You just glance across the room and you see it.
We also carry Spanish for Spanish speakers, French and German as well.
Right. This is the fun department. Talk about hands-on learning from the very beginning. Certainly Granada has the biotech pathway, which you hear about. We have AP Environmental Science, AP Biology, AP Chemistry, AP Physics. We have Forensic Science, which is developed to introduce students to both the physical and life sciences.
And when you talk about cooperative learning, really it happens mostly in science classrooms. And so a lot of cooperative learning, project-based learning, research-based learning that's happening in all life and physical science classrooms.
And all freshmen start off their high school experience with FIT at both high schools. It's a trimester 1 class in which they learn how to take notes, how to get organized, where to go for help, how to get involved. It really sets the stage for their success throughout high school.
And one of the benefits that both high schools can use is really kind of making sure that the ESTLers really are delivered through the FIT courses. And in terms of Livermore High School, what we have done is created a wheel that each FIT classroom would cover personal development, academics, communication, and technology, and they would kind of cycle through all those different areas so that every student understands what the PAC means.
And one more thing, we haven't talked about counselors, but they are critical in our school success, and they actually use the FIT classes to come and speak with the students, help them develop their 4-year plans, and to begin the counseling that they will eventually move on to more individual, but that gets them started on a group level. Extracurricular involvement is key, and it actually is more co-curricular in many ways. I'll let Mr. Solorzano talk about this example, but both schools have DECA, which is an extension of the marketing program. We have over 24 clubs on campus. Haley talked about the club fair. I know kids get involved in clubs at both high schools. It's a great way for them to develop their own leadership skills.
And of course, the only remaining FFA chapter in Alameda County is residing at Livermore High School, and we're very proud to know that there are more students interested. We have a very active 4-H developmental program that is now seeing the excitement and seeing that with this new Growing California Green Academy for our students that there are a lot more pathways than just raising steer when you take ag courses. And so what doesn't do justice for this slide is that when you mention clubs, with the many clubs that both high schools offer, there's also a very specific community service component to many of those clubs. And so a lot of our students are active members in our community, providing community service hours across kind of from the senior level to the children level in terms of helping folks out in our community.
Okay, and this last slide is the Livermore Granada game, which of course is a pretty big highlight throughout the community. And if you haven't been to it, you should go. This year is at Livermore High School. It is also indicative of the fact that we have so many students involved in sports. This year, Granada has 1,100 student athlete spots with over 24 CIF sports.
Yeah, and then we also have seen kind of an increase in participation of students in participating in many of our different sports. And then also I think that it brings our communities together. Yes, we are rivals on the playing field, but it also brings the community together. And I think, again, this is one of the things that makes Livermore very unique in terms of when you have two rival high schools that people can show up, have a great game, enjoy some good company, and probably have some good food to boot.
Yeah. So we have one more piece to show you. This takes about 2 minutes, and Alberto and I were both looking at this video. It's put on by the High School Video Network, which is a company that works in collaboration with schools to fundraise, basically. They came out to this area and spent actually a lot of time, you'll see it, at one of our local high schools. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is even though we're pretty excited about high school, this is kind of a reserved environment in which to express our enthusiasm. And so this short little video gives, I think, a better sense of how really cool high school is. Because if you ask any high school teacher why they teach high school, it's because they recognize that these 4 years are so amazing in the lives of the students that go through our district. They come here with lots of experience, but they leave with even more ability to take on the world. And so we're very, very honored to be part of their lives. And this video gives you a sense of how pretty fun it can be to be a high school student.
College, so then it'll be a lot easier when you're in college. You kind of got a basic knowledge of what to do. And they want to be involved. They want to work with their hands. They want to build things. They want to see how those things work.
I just really like logical thinking and problem solving. You just get this great sense of accomplishment when you figure out, why something wasn't working before. And I mean, it's one of the best feelings.
And if it's in your blood and you like do it your passion, we're going to accept you and we're going to be like, let's just do it. Let's be here together. 1,000 Cubans who are trained to kill.
I do it a lot because I like winning and I like to defeat people.
So one of the things that we were preparing for this evening's presentation for you, both Philomena and I both feel privileged to be part of two wonderful communities. We have the privilege of helping teachers and coaching teachers perfect their craft. We have the privilege of watching students grow up to be young, contributing adults. And I think it is, again, we are in a position to be witness to so many great things happening. And I guess if that video doesn't leave you with some sense of what happens in a high school experience, then we can come visit, walk our classrooms, come during homecoming, because you'll be reminiscent of the times when you were in high school.
Thank you very much. Do board members have comments or questions? Mrs. Runyon?
I'm going to kind of show how much of a nerdy family I come from. As I was prepping for this meeting and reading the background material, I was so impressed with the background report that I actually gave it to my husband to read. And he was blown away by the numbers. When you look at the demographics, and especially the change in demographics that Livermore has had, which I really didn't realize because we're more recently moved to Livermore in '98. I hadn't realized what a big change the demographics had, and the scores have gone up so dramatically. It's really a testament to the work that's gone on at these schools to take more diverse, more challenging, more kids in poverty population and really get them prepared for adult life. So the first thing I want to say is, wow, because I was very impressed, and my husband was too. We're both math majors, so we sat there and looked at your data 6 ways and just blown away at how well you've done with the challenges that you've been handed. So I want to say that. And the second thing I wanted to say is I have changed in my thinking somewhat about high school in the time that I've been on the board. And I think Mr. Ranchak has been part of that, kind of teaching me the importance of athletics on a campus and what it means to the culture of a school. And one of the things that I notice, especially in the last couple of years, is that we've made it very challenging to keep the programs open by not properly resourcing the infrastructure. People are fundraising for the people that are the referees at games. They're fundraising for their major equipment, the covers that go on the pool for water polo, the football stadiums, the equipment. And I guess I want to ask you to think about and maybe give me some feedback either now or down the road about what we haven't given you that would be really necessary to put on those quality programs and let every kid participate, not just the kid whose parents can write a $2,000 check to football in order to participate, because it does something to the culture of a school to have people involved in athletics. Am I right?
Yes. You're right. Thank you very much for saying that. The Livermore Granada Boosters, which has been around for decades as well, I think supports the fact that athletics is very important in this community, but not just athletics, student athletes, and it's the combination of that which makes both thrive. So we obviously, I know I speak for both of us, we would definitely appreciate the board looking at the budget and recognizing that more money to athletics would be much appreciated, because you're right, it has become a fundraising endeavor. So thank you. Yeah,
and we've asked people to pick up a lot as the crisis unfolded in funding, and now we need to look at what we need to do, and especially on the infrastructure side, because I just feel like, if we don't give you a safe place to practice and play, and we don't provide the referees, it's really hard to put on the game. I mean, it's one thing to buy your own track shorts or something like that you're going to keep when you're done, but that infrastructure in order to have a program, I just feel like it's the greater community responsibility. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you is, what else? Because obviously you've done a great job to this point, but what do you need from us? What are you hoping from us as we go forward in terms of things that you have, but that you're running out of, or things that we haven't done that you need?
Wow, be careful what you ask for.
Well, we want to hear it. That doesn't mean we can do it.
The list can go on and on, but first and foremost, I do believe that, professional development really is something that when it's consistently done, well, I'm not asking for conferences, I'm asking for monthly professional development that keeps our teachers honing on their craft of teaching, implementing those research-based practices, providing time for reflection. I think that is going to help us get at so many other systems when we talk about students that are struggling. Well, if we increase our best practices and looking at data and looking at cycles of inquiry, then we're going to prevent less kids from doing or performing at lower levels. So like my number one thing would probably be just consistent professional development.
Okay.
I'll second that. I would also like to add technology. And I'm sure that we could probably go on with this list. We should probably do it at another time. Yeah. But I'll just put that plug in. Certainly with the need for student computers for the smarter balance assessments, but also technology for the teachers. I'm sure you've heard that students are, the only hours that they're not online is when they're at school. And so they're speaking in this foreign language at school. So it requires professional development to get a staff that is conversant with students on that level. But honestly, we need, it's like a tool. It needs to be a line item in my opinion. So again, thanks for asking.
That's it for me.
Mrs. Dreyer.
I actually just wanted to speak from a student's point of view, how a lot of the things in this presentation were based off of creativity and the ability for students to explore where they feel they thrive. And as a student, I feel that a lot of those things actually come into play when it comes to STAR testing or seeing those test standards, because being able to take the extracurriculars that you want give you kind of the foundation to, say, doing that district right. You have all these different sources of knowledge that you can write about, that necessarily if you just focus on English, grammar, you wouldn't be able to do that. But I really find that when it comes to testing for the basics, I get a lot of my support or my knowledge from classes that I've taken that allow me to explore good areas for me. And I think that's one of my favorite things about this district is you have endless opportunities to explore creativity. And I TA for Spanish speakers, and watching them also get to show their creativity in a language that they've known for years, but expanding it and learning new ways to embrace that language, their cultures, and everything. So I really like what we do, and I encourage to make it bigger and continue to do it. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Schultz.
I'd just like to second what Sarah said and add on to it that I met really some of the most thoughtful and intelligent people ever just from my teachers. One of my AP European history teacher, Mrs. Reagan, is probably the most intelligent woman that I've ever met, and just from her, she's just one example, but she's taught me so much about questioning the world I live in and using the abilities I learned in school, my critical thinking abilities that I use to write essays or to memorize facts from a history book and see how they apply to our current state. She's just really taught me so much, and a lot of the teachers that I've come across have taught me so many things that I take beyond the classroom, and I'm proud to take those things beyond the classroom and to take the knowledge that I've gained and use it and apply it to the real world. So I'm just really proud to be a part of this district as a whole and of the Granada community, because I think I've learned a lot of really great life skills, not only as far as expanding my intelligence and my ability to question the world, but also as far as becoming a quality person. Like the leadership courses I've taken and the teachers I've come across, they've really emphasized respect and using your resources to help others, and I think that's a really great way for our school to use all of our resources to aid everyone, whether they be fellow students or people in international communities. So I'm really proud to be a part of this community.
Thank you. Mrs. White, do you have any comments?
Yes, I concur with Mrs. Runyon on the concern of district support for the infrastructure for athletics. Before I was on the board, one of the hot button items was whether or not the board was going to close the swimming pools. And when I joined the board, the pools were closed. It was a cost-saving item. And at the time, we asked, well, how much did we save? And I don't remember the number, but I do remember that more recently, we asked how much it would cost to close, we would save to close the schools, or it cost, whichever way you say it. And the numbers changed. I mean, and it wasn't just inflation numbers, but the cost to save, to run the pools was so much less now than it was then. So clearly there were different assumptions made. I mean, some really substantial different assumptions about I don't know who was going to do the work, whether we had to have a pool anyway, I don't know. But we need to thoughtfully consider what the assumptions are when we consider the infrastructure. I mean, would we need to have a football field if we didn't play football? And we have agreed that we're going to support that because we've just set it all up. You know, we've just recently put in the track and recently put in the turf and recently rehabbed the bleachers. But on the other hand, whose responsibility is the bleachers? I mean, that's what you're getting at, and I think it's certainly something we really need to ponder carefully.
Just one thought on that score is that if you come to Granada or Livermore any school day, you'll see literally hundreds of kids out on the field. But if you come any non-school day, the school is always busy. There's a couple places in Livermore, you can see our lights are on both sets of schools pretty much every single night. Not only do the sports teams practice there, but the community uses the facility. So it's that's something we've talked about for the bond measure, but it's a fixture.
It's, yeah.
And again, when you talk about, multi-use facilities. Again, the football stadium and the tracks are all multi-use, so many different sports teams are used in the football fields. Many use of our classrooms for many other different purposes as well. And so the use of these facilities, so I guess the wear and tear, takes a toll. And so we really need to be conscious of how is our infrastructure? Is it really holding up so that our kids can actually have the best opportunity to have the best enriched learning environment?
Well, and we all know that schools are a community use structure, infrastructure to the whole community. But we still need to, in some way, take account of that as we're planning the future and doing our accounting. And someone told me one time about creative bookkeeping. Well, you can sort things several different ways, and we need to make some assumptions and sort the costs of maintaining the facilities for our students, for our athletes, for our community, so that we all understand that everybody uses our facilities, not just our students, whether they're in class or doing athletic type things.
Yep.
My other concern that we hear from the community is about the FIT program. And you can imagine that some say it's not as valuable as we seem to think it is. And I would appreciate it if someone, I can't remember how long we've been doing it, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. There must be before and after data in several categories that I could have in the back of my mind to say, yes, but did you know? This is up and this is...
I think you saw it.
But you know what I mean? So written down so that I, as a community person, can say, my kid really didn't like that.
Sure, and I think
I would like to have 6 things that I can say it was better for the school because, and it...
And that's a great question, and I think that there's probably a lot of indirect data that we can probably point to, well, the contributing factors because students were involved in FIT. I think that both high schools are experiencing a higher increase of ADA. And most notably, Livermore High School went up to 98% for the average of the year. And then, our expulsions are down, our suspension rates are down, and so a lot of these things may or may not be indirectly contributed because of FIT. Right.
And in your written report, you have the results of the Healthy Kids Survey, which I think is directly tied to that and is supported actually by the surveys that we give to FIT students each year.
Okay.
So we can talk more about that if you'd like, but there is
I'll look more
data to
carefully at
support
what's
the
there
value
to
of
see
it.
what I can...
While we're talking
yes.
about FIT, if you don't mind,
Yeah, please, go ahead.
One of the things that I would love to see incorporated into the FIT program would be teaching every student CPR. I'd love to have every single one of our high school graduates CPR certified, and communities that have done this have found that the survival rate for heart attacks goes enormously up because you've got this huge population of trained people. And, in 10 years, how many kids are going to pass through? How many people are available in the community to do CPR? And we have our own shining example right here at the table of what can happen when a trained person is there and ready. And you've always got your hands with you in order to do it. You may not have an AED. We've got some AEDs on our campuses, but I would love to see that and make it part of the graduation requirements. And I think that FIT would be a really appropriate place for that.
Mr. Rogie, please.
Well, I have several notes here, but we'll start out with FIT. I like that idea of the CPR. What I was curious about in FIT was what subjects could start being pressed down toward the middle school that should be known before you even get to FIT. I don't know what kind of data statistics that you're keeping on that, but there's got to be some items that you can honestly say that, maybe they should have learned that in middle school rather than coming up here into the high school. The same thing we see in colleges, you should have learned that in high school. And maybe at some point FIT will be a remedial class rather than...
Yeah, actually, I know that both Philomena and I were, I think transitions are very important. There are some major transitions. There's 5th to 6th, 8th to 9th, and then 12th and beyond. And I think we've even kind of joked with we need a SIT class, a seniors in transition course, because we do feel that there are some takeaways that they can learn from before they go on to college and career. And so yeah, I think there are probably some opportunities that middle schools can take some units possibly and make sure that they understand these are the skill sets required to be successful in high school. But certainly, you know, we could talk maybe a district-wide transition program that'll keep our students from kind of falling in the cracks, because those transition periods is when the students fall further behind.
I like your senior transition because there's so many different areas, those that are going to college, those that are going into blue-collar career, those that might be going into the military. I mean, that would be a socially and academically, I think, a good idea, take some of that edge off where you're going to go.
I like it because before closed session started, we were talking with some students, and we were actually delayed 5 minutes while I talked to a young woman about my experience in the Air Force, because she's intending to go into the Air Force, and I believe she's the senior at Livermore High. It's a good idea.
Regarding FIT, I think it's really important when you touch back on one of the previous goals that was to close the gap between, I think it was about people's achievement goals, like what they set for their standards for their future. And I think FIT's really important and a vital aspect of doing that, because it helps you understand the courses that you need to be taking and the activities you need to be involved in to help you achieve a higher education that you might have previously not thought you were capable of achieving. And once they put that into perspective for you, it's really not quite as intimidating as it once was. And it also provides you they provide you a lot of skills that are going to be useful to you throughout high school. They teach you how to give speeches, which are really important and kind of frightening going into high school, because a lot of the courses you're taking, from my experience, I was in courses with people who were seniors. So it was intimidating to give speeches, but having gone through the process of learning skills for how to represent my ideas throughout school, whether they be in a club, in a classroom setting, or anything upon those lines, I think that was a really important aspect of FIT.
Just to kind of go off what Haley said, I think it's also really important for FIT class, because in the very beginning, you fill out your 4-year plan folder, and you take a quiz that kind of gives you an idea of what kind of person you are. I got an influencer. Yeah. And you kind of make, it fit me right, but you also write down a whole bunch of goals and what you want to do, and it kind of stays in the back of your mind as you revisit every year, and you're like, oh, do I really want to visit that folder, because I feel like I did not keep up with those goals that I set for myself. So it's kind of like a self-motivating, because you're like, okay, I wrote that down, and I'm going to have to look at it each year. So I just got mine back from my freshman year. I'm happy to say I kept most of them, so that it feels good to have that in the back of your mind. But also to go off of, not to use the school, the field, who funds to keep the maintenance up. I know at Livermore High, for some things, our ASB funds go towards those things like our sound system, because we know that those benefit the whole entire student body. It might be a football field, but it is used for rallies, lacrosse, soccer, football, track. We know that if we set aside money for that, that it's benefiting for all students. So I know we're in the process of getting a new sound system for the football field and some sort of system for our gym, because we know that benefits the community, and that's going to all associated student bodies. So I don't know where you guys are wanting to go with that, if you want to take it more on a district level, but our associated student body is trying to take on most of that.
Yeah, say one more thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess my pet theory about facilities at the schools is that there ought to be a minimum standard checklist that we have, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, the classrooms have and the school has. And if they don't have them on my list, it's the district's responsibility to provide this, not the PTA, not the site council, but the district. Our responsibility is to provide the teachers in the building and the instructional materials that are essential. And after that, the PTA can provide the extras. But we haven't been able to do that lately.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a goal. My pie in the sky goal is to, and as a community, we would be putting things on the list that would be essential, very important. I know at one time, this is about athletics again, but the district paid for the safety parts of the football uniform. There's some annual review of the helmets or something that they have to send them in to get them verified, and the padding. And all that was the district responsibility because it was a safety thing. That's what it was thought in those days. Now, I don't know what the policy is now, but you have to take it apart and look at our responsibility in an ideal world versus our community's responsibility.
Well, and I think we're in agreement. If I understood your stand there, it seems like a sound system is pretty integral to the needs of a school, especially a large school. And I know, having been to the academic breakfast a couple of times at Granada, that the sound system there could use some work, that it's very hard to hear in that room when someone's using the microphone. And, again, I would put those on the list of the kind of things that the community needs to provide to our schools, rather than insistence that students or families provide those things. That seems to be a basic requirement of a usable and safe school. So.
Okay. Now, please.
I know some confusion has arisen in some of our previous ASB meetings because we've talked about upgrading or trying to contribute to bettering some of our facilities, but we also know that if we were to pass that through, that it's not the ASB's responsibility to update facilities. So I guess there's some confusion as to how far the ASB funds can go. Are we allowed to improve our facilities, or is that solely a district?
Well, so students can provide things that benefit students through their funds. And if facilities falls into that category, they can do that. But this last 2 years, when the board looked at what limited we were in providing any support for athletics or for things, what we did is we have a restricted account that is for facilities, and we were able to free up funds for ASB that had been spent on things like the bleachers, like things that it's okay for ASB if they vote for it to spend for, but we recommended to the board, and the board felt very strongly. I think Alex Klimek was part of that recommendation. He was the former board rep from the student body, and what they said is, we've given all this funding, and now there's other things that maybe they couldn't use, and so we did a restricted amount that was released, and it was $50,000 for each high school for 2 years, and this is the second year.
Okay.
And so that does not even begin to cover everything.
Yeah.
But that's certainly, if we go forward and look at a community bond or something like that, then the goal would be, with community support, some of these really critical facilities things would then be funded by the community, and then the student funds could be, as Trustee White said, for the extra things, the awards, the rallies, and the kind of fun stuff. And then the emphasis on safety, when that money was not supposed to be meant or designed so that, one baseball team had 5 changes of uniforms and extra bags, and, cheerleaders had 7 outfits. I mean, that's nice, but that's not a requirement, even though it's kind of the standard maybe. So it was really with an eye toward the coaches, toward the umpires, toward the referees, safety types things first, and then going into other elements. But again, it doesn't cover it. It was just our way to contribute in the horrible fiscal crisis, something.
Okay.
Mr. Rogan.
I'm sorry, I've got 3 more things. I kind of got lost in the 5th thing. One of the things you might have mentioned, and I might have gotten lost because I was writing notes, is the mention of community outreach by the schools. I know that some of the jazz bands and chorals go out to the community, but what else could we be doing, or should we be doing, to get students more involved in the community? We have a lot of community that comes in and helps the schools. I'm looking for community service for students before they leave high school to show a robust program that shows their character and what they've learned and how they can help the community.
I know that many students kind of go and gravitate towards historical places that offer community services, most notably the library. Every student goes to the library and says, I'd like to volunteer and provide some community service. That tends to be a tapped out resource, and I think we need to branch out more. It would be nice if some of our laboratories can open up some of their security restrictions so that they can start volunteer and get to know the different types of careers that are available, not so much on career days, but more so on volunteer type opportunities so that they can, again, be part of learning new and exciting careers for them. So I guess it would be more if we can branch out and create more partnerships with many of the Livermore Valley organizations and businesses so that we have more opportunities for our students to choose from.
And then to add to that, certainly the students who are involved in our ROP programs have the opportunity for internships. And if you're talking more about community service and giving back, right now both high schools honor students who do service over their 4 years with a cord that they wear at graduation. It's part of the Senior Awards program. The leadership programs at both high schools are very active in the community. Granada Gives Back is the name of the program, and Haley can talk to you more about that, and she will as we get into November and December. They adopt a family, they shop with the COP, they do a lot of, she mentioned the outreach as far as even helping internationally. The Interact clubs on campus work, their charter is to reach out to the community both locally and internationally. CSF actually has, the California Scholarship Federation, that club actually has as its charter also community service. So we certainly have it piecemeal with a recognition by the school, but when we were talking about the SIT class, which is not even a joke, and also looking at additional graduation requirements, and coupled with the fact that we want to prepare students to be, again, able to work in this global economy, we're recognizing that maybe there is more of an orchestrated need or need for an effort that would actually give them not only an opportunity, but maybe even a requirement for some sort of outreach so that that becomes part of their character.
And that is a very strong point. And the idea in our mission of contribute and thrive was that they weren't just going to leave us and take, and they're going to actually be that. So our community offers also, we partner, I mean, a lot of the Eagle Scouts, they have individual projects, even what you'll see at the kickoff tomorrow. The students in the production, the older students who are part of that, they are the ones who helped script, and they'll be accompanying it, and they helped model for the younger students. So we even have partnerships now where they're going, I think Granada has matched with I don't know what they called it. They call it MIT. I don't know, Mitchell in Transition, or I don't know what it was, middle school in transition. But the kids were coming over, and that was student generated. I think the Shooting Stars, which is something that some of you have been part, was, again, even though there are adults as advisors and they're instrumental in making it happen, most of these ideas came from students who saw a need and wanted to fill it. And I think it even starts in the elementary level. They're doing pennies for patients, and I can't, it's just an amazing thing. I think it's the spirit of Livermore. The mayor gave his State of the Union address the other night, and he said that one of the unique data points in the city of Livermore was it 78% or something like that. I don't have the exact number, but of the people who live here give of themselves and their time in some way. And it's not just writing a check, it's actually the time and the talent. So that's part of that justserve.org program. And a lot of them are doing things for our schools through their churches as well. When we have those Make a Difference days and out in the community, it's not just adults coming in, it's students. And then we've had a few students, I know Carlos Custodio's children, they came back and they go to Maryland School and help other students with their science project. So it's very amazing how much happens, and I think we haven't maybe quantified or codified it to know, and that would be a great data point to share, is how many students are actively involved and what is the scope, and then how can we continue to support that, because it's really part of the whole character development.
Well, then my suggestion would be that we have something on our webpage that would list our community outreach from our students, list out those clubs, list out those things, because it gives ideas to other students, gives students that are looking for something to do a place to go and say, oh, I'd like to be doing that, be part of that group. So I think advertising would be a big hit, and also gives our community a sense of what we are giving back. I'm glad to hear all this, but I'm hearing it now, and you're right, it's kind of segmented. We need to put it all together and put it in a spot where everybody can see it. and revel in it. It's a great idea, great program to have kids add to their character. Well, moving on, one of the other things that was brought up by Mrs. Runyon was the athletics, and as she was speaking, it dawned on me about having intramural sports. We have the pro sports side of it, as I call it, the varsity, the junior varsity and stuff, but there's those kids who don't want to be part of that much of an organization or would make the team, but why not have intramural volleyball between Granada, Livermore, and Amador, open up the gym, or flag football, or any one of these things where it's not, you're playing a game a week, it's not that highly organized. You just get out there and you play because it's something you want to do. And I think, yes, it's going to stress our facilities, but I think for the students that don't want to be part of the pro sports side of it, it's a cheap alternative. They get the exercise, they stay attached to school and stuff. So something to consider.
And we do have powder puff.
Well, yeah, okay, right. There's a start.
I think after-school sports or intramurals are great. Again, I think those were probably a casualty of budget years ago, but great idea.
I mean, I think it's doable inside of a very inexpensive budget. And then again, drop-in times at gyms like that, pick up basketball games. Inner cities have done this here. There are also some downsides. I don't think we'd have that problem. And then the last thing you'd mentioned, the schools being, now I forgot the word. Well, the word I substituted was innovative. And I think that's what our high schools are and our school district is. We're being very innovative. The studies have shown that in Finland and South Korea, they're very, very good at taking tests. They score very high. But what they lack is innovation. And they compare that to our high schools in the United States. And I'll put our high schools and schools up against anybody else's in innovation. And that's where I think keeps us head above everybody else, is we don't lack innovation. I see it in the films and we were talking earlier about Spirit Week and the floats and the Broadway plays that are being out there. They're getting so innovative, and they're able to do it. And I think that's where I think we really shine. And if we ever lose our innovation, so thank you. Good report. Glad your high schools are doing well.
We can't lose it. It's on our bracelet.
Pardon?
We can't lose our innovation. We have to keep it close.
And it's a very big key. Anyway, thank you.
Mrs. Runyon, one more comment?
I did have one more, if I could. I wanted to mention again the video class. I think it's just dynamite. I love to look at the kind of things that are going up on YouTube in the district restricted channel, and then the recent innovation of having explanatory videos showing teachers the evaluation process. That's just a wonderful thing. It's a great training tool. It's so widely used now in business. I think it's great, and I hope that you've got enough resources for all the kids that want to do it, and if you don't, I want to hear about it. So.
I like this.
Now, they've all finished. I have my list. But little Amy probably start a conversation. Mine is technology in the classroom. And I know some of your teachers are very innovative, and they make a great use of that. And I think sometimes my question would be, do they do things where all the students can't participate because some of them don't have some of the capabilities on their iPhone that are required? So I think you want to keep track of that, because we hate to leave anyone out because somehow they're not empowered to participate fully in the classes. But that just raises the question, have we provided the kind of technology that your teachers want, need, or feel that they would love to try out?
No. Many of our classrooms are not well equipped with technology. I believe that almost all classrooms are equipped with kind of like what we see as the baseline of a LCD projector and maybe an Elmo document reader type camera, laptop. But that's just for one user. When you talk about, between 28 and 32 students inside a classroom, and there's only maybe three to four different workstations that students can access, we need more. There are many grant opportunities, which is great that many teachers are finding funding for. Donors Choose, those Rotary grants, some of our Livermore and Sandia research laboratories providing grants. So some classrooms are being equipped with technology, whereas others who don't get funded, their students don't have those opportunities to access some of that technology. And so there is an inequity happening within our classrooms. And so if we want all of our students to access and manipulate technology, then every classroom needs to be equipped with that technology.
Are all of the teachers prepared to utilize it, or do we still need to do some work in that area?
Yeah, but I will say that we do have lots of good things going on. Both of us have new science departments that have smart boards, and as Alberto mentioned, the classrooms have, the projectors. We don't have document cameras in every classroom. Teachers are beginning to recognize the value of many of the technology implements in their classrooms, and they're asking for them. And again, as you mentioned before, and as you just alluded to, professional development is critical. I think that if we had more individual student devices, we could certainly have more creativity in lesson planning. But I would say equity does still prevail, and you'll have a lot of group work where pull out your cell phones and maybe there are a couple kids together. I don't know that we'll ever stay ahead of the curve on technology, but the kids have a lot to teach us. And I think that with collaborative learning, we can learn from them as well. So I appreciate, again, your openness to that. It's an unending need, and also probably an unending funding vacuum. So thanks.
I agree with the technology side. I don't think we're ever going to stay on top of it. We're going to always be on the bleeding edge because it moves so quickly. I don't know if anyone's been following the LA district with their iPads. $100 million, they distributed them. The innovative high school students in 2 days broke the codes and were now running loose on the internet. And as of yesterday, they sucked them all back in because they lost control of the technology. But it was quite a chunk of change, and it's going to be one of the biggest money things that districts are going to do. And I don't think that we can stay on technology point. What's technology going to be in 3 years? I couldn't tell you what it's going to be in 6 months. I mean, we have our basic standby workstations, but my understanding is that all that stuff's starting to go away because the phones are getting so smart. But who knows?
And I think, too, that the technology is a tool. It's not the end-all.
Exactly.
And so what we're focusing on, regardless of technology, is teaching students to be innovative thinkers, to be problem solvers, because those are the skills that are going to create the next devices and solve the problems. We still want technology.
I think that the education should be, I can adapt to any technology, rather than am I current on this technology? Can I adapt to it? Students are very adaptable at them. It doesn't take very long for them to be knowing the latest app or the latest phone or the latest. I mean, I was watching these two do the reports off their, I'm not sure what their iPads. That's something we wouldn't have seen 3 years ago. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen next year. They're probably just going to have it fed into their ear. Yeah. Or off their watch, because now watches are coming back. Dick Tracy is really going to end up having a serious thing on his watches. But yeah, technology is going to be the hardest thing for us to grapple with as a school.
So I think you will need to keep us advised of what makes sense and how it would be used. But funding will always be a problem, but we ought to look at grants and other ways to approach that.
So the Common Core has some portion that will be allocated for technology, and of the 3 areas of the Common Core funding, it's not unending funding, it's limited, it's approximately $200 per student, but the 3 areas of focus are instructional materials, technology, and professional development, and what we're assessing is that probably the technology piece is huge for us. And again, if we were to survey folks and moving forward, technology could also be something, the infrastructure and the supports for that, for what a standard classroom is and things like that, could be part of a bond measure as well. And then that way, because when we polled for our partial tax, tech specialists even came in higher than the traditional library services. And so we know that the STEM, I think when you look at STEM, we've just had this conversation, the T in STEM has been kind of taken for granted. We focus a lot on the science and math, engineering programs. We have very unique programs at both schools. And technology has been the undercurrent and maybe We need to have the district support that. It's never been because of a lack of intent. We've had beautiful technology plans. I've spearheaded those myself. And Jeff Warner, we always have wanted to, but when things were so bad financially, then some things fell to a lower priority list because we need to have our staff. Because technology should not be replacing staff. It should be a tool for highly qualified staff.
In one respect, you've always liked the word STEAM because you like putting the arts in there. To validate that, there's an issue of Fast Company, and I don't know if anybody's ever read that. In fact, I have one that. The whole issue is about design and art, and that's where everything is moving toward. Where the designers have come from. Not old, they are 18 to 22. They're industrial designers that are heading departments of 30, 35 people. If you find an issue of it, it's very, very good. And that's where art has come into. And we looked at athletics and said, well, yeah, don't forget it's a billion dollar industry. You've got physical therapists and lawyers and everybody tied to the athletic industry. One major football player supports the whole industry. Same thing with art. I think that's where we see it really start to take off, other than just music. And I'm glad to see that our district schools are keeping up on design, computer-aided drawings, and all that. So we're there, but got to keep moving.
Yep.
Yes, one more comment,
Yeah,
please.
I just wanted to say one thing. I think for students, technology matters, but not necessarily in the newest iPad or the newest iMac. But having like the servers that can handle a lot of students logging in at one time. I couldn't tell you how many times 20 students go to log in and half of them are restarting the computers to keep logging in, or just the laptops that I know my science teacher has applied for so many grants and he's gotten a lot of them, but a lot of them get out of date or the software just goes bad on them. So just kind of keeping up with what we have, and what we have is able to function properly.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you very much. Were you here longer than you expected? Thank you. And I think we're on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent items. And so do we have would anyone like to pull out any of the consent items for special consideration?
I'd be happy to move items A through G on the motion.
I'd second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we have the consent items resolutions. And do we have anything we'd like to discuss there? I personally would like us to comment on the issue that this is Character Education Month. And we've had character education programs in our schools for a while, and I think they really do make a significant difference. And I keep waiting for us to have the kids who started in kindergarten get to high school, and then we will have everyone have had 4 years of character education instruction. So that's coming up, I think, not too far from now. But I think if we continue to work with our students on the issues that we outline in the character education programs, that's very important, and I hope results in students with a different attitude and different and respect toward others and the basic characteristics that we support. So I just wanted to make that comment. Any other comments on those? And so if we don't have any other comments,
I'd be happy to make the motion for resolutions 8 through 10, 2013-14.
I'll second.
we have a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. No, okay. I thought I had one other thing to say, but I certainly don't. Ms. Dreher? Aye. Mrs. Runyon?
Aye.
Mr. Rogie?
Aye.
Dr. Dunlop?
Aye.
Mrs. White? Aye.
And with this, we're on to the board member reports and requests. Mrs. Runyon, would you like to start?
Thank you. I participated with my husband in the Walk for Education, saw an awful lot of people I knew there, and appreciate all the support for the schools. And I got to ride a Segway for the very first time. I am telling you, if you haven't done it, you need to. There's a business in town that gives tours of the wine country via Segway. And many of you know that I had quite a serious accident about 3 years ago and lost the use of a lot of my right leg, and so walking is very difficult, and I didn't know whether I'd be able to ride a Segway, and they were very patient and very helpful, and I had a lot of fun. I attended an international baccalaureate meeting at Joe Michel, and they are making a lot of progress, and they're going to be receiving a not a brand new, but new to them, science building, and they're very excited about that. And Michel is looking for a math counts coach. They want to get a math counts program up and running there, and they are in need of a coach. So if you are excited about math, and believe it or not, there are some of us that are that way, there is an opportunity for you, either before or after school, to be a math coach.
And let me comment, they could call either Robin Slichter or me, and we could get them hooked up with the school.
Yeah. And so here's an opportunity to serve. And on that note, I met with Gloria Gregory, who is involved with an organization called City Serve. And it's actually a coalition of churches within the Tri-Valley. And they are looking for things where there are needs and trying to plug churches in to helping serve in their community. And so we've had several churches that have come and offered to help with the school district, and this is just an umbrella organization. So I have contact information for Gloria, and we had a great meeting talking about some of the needs in the migrant ed community and specific needs for students that the churches are eager to help try to fill. So that was very encouraging.
Mr. Roque?
I'll pass this time. Thank you.
Mrs. White?
Yes, I've done some of the webinars and the online information about the LCFF and LCAP. Ms. Kinder and I went to an Alameda County presentation. And the more I listen to these, the more I think it's going to be a really lot of work for the school board. Because the committees that are being set up, of the committees of the community that are being set up, are board committees. They're not superintendent committees, they're board committees. And I don't know if we would decide to have a board member lead the committee, or whether we would designate a staff member to lead the committee and have a community member be chairman. But they will need to be Brown Act noticed and the whole thing. And we need to, from what I've heard, we need to start soon to direct staff to gather the information so that we can decide, we can learn what our baseline information is, because the accountability plan will include improvements, and we have to know what the base is before we improve, and we have to talk about it. So I think that it worked pretty well the other day to have a gathering on the Tuesday between board meetings late in the afternoon. And at one time, we board members set aside the off Tuesday nights to have workshops. And with this board, I would suggest that we would try to avoid dentist appointments, other optional things on those late Tuesday afternoons of the off Tuesdays, so that if the superintendent needs to gather us, that we've avoided, other commitments during that time. Because I just have a feeling that it's going to be a lot of information gathering, and they're going to want feedback from us to know what to do next. And if we have to do a doodle meeting every time, it's going to be delaying, and just be more easy if the superintendent could say, well, we're going to need to meet on January, whatever it's going to be. And we all would be generally free for that time. So just as something to think about, because I keep going to these meetings and they keep saying the board is going to have to ask about, the board is going to have to decide, and we need to get the information. And in an informal, conversational kind of way. I don't suggest that these would be decision-making meetings, just information-gathering meetings. And we would ask, and staff would respond, or staff would ask, and we would try to respond.
Could I ask a question along that? Because I guess I took something different from the training that I took, that they were very clear that an existing parent meeting could be the qualifying parent input meeting into the
It certainly
process.
could, but it
So
has to
something
be
like
a board.
ELAC.
Yeah, but the board would have to establish ELAC as the committee.
Right, but
That's
they
gonna
could come
gather.
here and give us a report, their input from their committee on their priorities, and that would
But we would need,
suffice.
I'm not sure, because we would have to ask, I think
Well.
we need to have,
They're going to have to start paying board members if we're going to have full-time jobs going to committee meetings all over town every day of the week.
well, I don't think I would like to be precluded from going to those meetings myself if I would like to attend such a meeting. And if we
But-
don't set it up so that the board can go,
Well, the board can go to any meeting as long as we don't all go, or three of us go, and be a violation not to have.
well, there's also provision for
Public
board
meeting.
members to go to meetings and sit in the audience and be quiet and not participate at all, even if 2 other board members are there.
Yeah, but I think the requirement under LCFF is to take community input.
That's right, in a
It's not-
board-established committee.
Well, but we established the ELAC committee already. It's an existing established committee of the district.
Let me
and they're-
suggest that we make this an agenda item for a future meeting.
Well, we need to
Yeah,
have more clarity on the establishment of this committee and its purpose, because the ELAC purpose right now is not the LCAP purpose. So we would need to have the same people with a different purpose, perhaps. But also, I would like to just let people know that Eric Swalwell, our congressman, was visited Livermore High School last Tuesday. I originally tried to have him come because he was going to speak at the Livermore Chamber of Commerce meeting on Thursday, and I thought, well, if he's going to talk about education, which was the September theme for the chamber meeting, he at least should see what the schools are like in the community in which he's going to make these remarks. So it was arranged for him to come, and then he canceled the Thursday meeting because he had to go back to Washington. But he came to see Livermore High and Junction anyway. We had a really good visit. I think he had some awesome student docents who took him on a tour of the Green Academy. And then we went to visit the dual immersion program at Junction. And he had good interactions with the students and the teachers there. Thank you.
And I have been missing in action for 3 weeks, or most of the 3 weeks, but part of it was vacation and part of it was business travel, so I won't report on any of that. Some of the business travel would make you jealous. Mrs. Superintendent, please.
Thank you. So I had the privilege of visiting the Teacher of the Year for our district. That's Christensen's Regina Brinker. She's a STEM teacher. And County Superintendent Sheila Jordan joined us, as well as County Board President Yvonne Serrato. So she will be honored this Thursday evening. Hope some of you will be able to join us at the honorary ceremony for all of the Teachers of the Year for all the districts in the county that evening. And we're looking forward to that. I also attended the Livermore Community Service Council, and that's, I guess, co-chaired by the mayor, myself, and Mr. Rich Zollinger from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it was, we've now set up a schedule for 4 meetings between now and the next, and actually next September, because one of the concerns was that they were kind of just cropping up, almost as you're saying, if you just have these meetings set, then people can set their schedules. So we set up to meet, and they are actually in the process of choosing which day is the big community service day where everybody comes together. There's over 50 different faith groups, community groups, and nonprofits who come and are represented in this meeting, and then they sign up on justserve.org. So I encourage you, if you are looking, say, for a math coach for Mitchell, that's a great place to post projects. It's like a matchmaking service, but it's for projects and needs and talents. So someone can just go on there, they join, and they can list all the talents that they have, all of the things they love. They could put quilting, sewing, technology, websites, whatever it is they like to do, and then someone else will say, oh, well, we need new uniforms. This person can sew and make vests for our choir. Or, oh, we're doing a quilt project for children in Africa. So based on that, we can call the people who have these skills. Or we're having trouble keeping up our website. Now here's somebody who has that skill and just an interest in volunteering. The nice thing about it is that you can set it up and customize it so that if there are certain requirements that they need to have, for instance, their age, or if they have to be vetted or have TB testing or fingerprinting or follow other rules, then there's direct links. And so far, we've been successful with some of the large-scale projects, but we need to get more people to join. So if you are interested in volunteering or you know other people who are, they can just go on and join and list their talents, and then what will happen is it's all automated, and if you sign up for something, you'll meet the other people who are also signed up, and you'll get reminders about the project so you can't forget. And then you get automatic thank yous as well. So it's a great program. We also, a number of administration teachers attended this Sunday an honorary dinner and evening of entertainment, inspiration, and fun. And this was sponsored by the Cornerstone Church, and it was just in honor of teachers serving the community. And so I was able to attend, Mr. Van Schack attended. I ended up in a competition on the stage doing some kind of silly things, but it was quite fun. I did not win that competition, let's just say. And speaking of silly, I also was on a Segway at this LVF Walk for Education, and I realized that people were trying to videotape me so they could have a fun YouTube experience. And so I'm not the most graceful athletic person, but I didn't fall. Let's just put it that way. I was lucky that I was able to move at all while my husband was doing loopy loops and going backwards. So there's a different level of ability in that regard, but it definitely was fun. We had a number of participants. We were a little low on pre-registration, so we were sort of worried that it wouldn't have as great of a turnout, but then we had over 200 walk-in registrants. So some of them, like Mrs. Fields didn't get a t-shirt, but they still participated, and all of our schools were represented. It was very exciting. And finally, tomorrow is the back-to-school kickoff, so we want to go home and get a good night's sleep so that we're all fresh. We will be honoring 1,237 employees, representing 12,311 years of service in our district. And so we have people who've been here a few weeks as part of our employment, and we have people who've been here, I think, well over 40 years, so quite a span. We will have student performers, cheerleaders, mascots, all of our employee units, top workplace awards and honors, an inspiring keynote speaker on the topic of equity. And this is where our community never lets us down. I think it was mentioned earlier, over $10,351 in donations for prizes and gifts to show appreciation for the people who do the hard work of working with the hard and most important work of working with our students and preparing them for the future. So I hope to see you there. Thank you.
With that, we are adjourned, and it's still only 9:10, which is very good for us. But thank you all for participating.